Hey there, Topher here. So if you don't know me, I'm a YouTuber living here in Taiwan. I'm an American combat veteran, and I mostly talk about geopolitics, military insights, and like emerging technology, stuff like that. And recently I had the awesome opportunity to actually test fire Taiwan's new infantry rifle, the T-112. Or T-112, I'm not exactly sure what the nomenclature will be. I'll probably stick with T-112. Now this is a very rare opportunity. I'm one of the very few foreigners who's actually been able to test fire Taiwan's new rifle. And I owe it entirely to legislator Wang Dingyu and his staff. So massive thanks to legislator Wang Dingyu. He invited me and Tony Hugh to go to the 205th Arsenal near Kaohsiung. And it wasn't a simple process. We actually had to do a lot of paperwork, get proper security clearances, have our identities checked, all sorts of stuff like that. So it was a lot of work on the part of his staff. So thank you so much for this awesome opportunity. And it was actually a really cool experience. We were met by a lot of officers. They gave us a really cool presentation. I learned a lot about the 205th Arsenal and its history. So today I'll tell you about my first impressions before and after firing the rifle. As all you ground pounders out there know, the rifle is the most important part of an infantryman's kit. It's the piece of equipment that allows them to do their job effectively. And before I want to get into the review, I need to give a shout out to today's sponsor, which lets me do my job effectively, and that's Surfshark VPN. As you know, VPNs are super useful for keeping your internet safe and secure. They add an extra layer of security and encryption whenever you're browsing the internet. And that's why I use Surfshark VPN every day. And I chose to use Surfshark over hundreds of other VPNs for a couple of reasons. Some of the biggest reasons are because Surfshark is very affordable, and they have super fast speeds. So it doesn't slow down my internet connection at all. And with just one account, I can use Surfshark on unlimited devices. So if this is something you're interested in, then please scan this QR code or click the link in the comments below, surfshark.com/UncleTopher. Don't forget to use the coupon code UncleTopher at checkout. That way you get an additional 4 months of service of Surfshark VPN. But there are a few additional reasons that I use Surfshark VPN that they honestly don't advertise very much. But these reasons were really critical for me actually choosing Surfshark over some of their competitors. The first is that they use RAM-only servers, random access memory. What does this mean? Why is this important? Well, when you're connected to a Surfshark server and out browsing the internet, they're not storing any of that data. They do not keep a browsing log of what you're connected to. So even if a government actually forced Surfshark to turn over all their data on their customers, Surfshark does not have your browsing data. That information is not stored. Additionally, Surfshark's company headquarters is located in the EU, European Union. This is important because the EU has very good consumer protection laws, even better than the privacy laws in the United States. So when you're using Surfshark, you're not only protecting yourself from malicious websites and hackers and data brokers, but even internet service providers and governments. So it's because of these extra layers of security that I use Surfshark instead of their competitors. Never use a Chinese-based VPN. Never use a Chinese-based VPN. And I wouldn't even use a US-based VPN, especially not when I can use Surfshark that offers such a great service at a very affordable price. So if that sounds good to you, then please scan this QR code here on screen or click the link below, surfshark.com/UncleTopher. Don't forget to use the coupon code UncleTopher at checkout. That way you can get Surfshark VPN with an additional 4 months of service. It is much cheaper to have a VPN than it is to have your data stolen and your identity compromised. So unfortunately, I have to say a little bit of trust me bro here when I'm talking about this rifle, because I was not able to actually take any film or take any pictures while I was in the Armament Bureau's 205th Arsenal, which is totally understandable. I totally understand that. They took a lot of photos, but I only have the photos that they released to me. And unfortunately, they didn't release any photos of me actually holding the rifle or shooting it or anything like that. So I have one picture of me with the rifle in the background. So trust me, bro. So the T-112 is basically an upgraded version, a better designed version of the T-91. And the T-91 is basically Taiwan's version of the M4 carbine. And when I was a soldier in Iraq 20 years ago, that's what I used. I used an M4. I actually own an M4 that's back in the US. So I'm really familiar with this rifle. Very effective rifle, very accurate, pretty lightweight, fires NATO 5.56. For anyone who's not a fan of guns, that's the size of the round, 5.56 NATO. A round is the whole thing. The bullet is just the part that actually shoots out. The brass is where all the gunpowder is stored. I personally like the 5.56 round because it is lightweight and it's accurate, not too big of a size, so you can fit 30 in a magazine, in a standard magazine. Now the T-112 has some really awesome features that impressed me immediately. The way the rifling is designed and the way that it's actually forged, it's a heavier duty barrel, which means that the barrel's lifespan is much longer than its predecessor, the T-91. I think the T-91 had a lifespan of about 6,000 rounds, and from what I understand, the T-112 is 10,000. So huge improvement there. Overall, when I picked up the rifle, it just felt really sturdy. Even the collapsible stock felt more sturdy, more durable than the M4 carbine that I used and that I own. But that durability does have a little bit of a trade-off, and that is it's heavier than an M4. It's not too much of a difference, about half a kilo. I think it's worth the trade-off. But as any infantryman knows, that weight adds up. It adds up quickly. So I personally think it's worthwhile, but I can see how some people would criticize it and would want to have the lighter rifle. I think the morning is my favorite time in Taiwan. All the birds are waking up and chirping. You see the city starting to wake up, people starting to get ready to go to work. A lot of elders are out on walks, walking their dogs, and it's not oppressively hot yet. That happens later in the day. Now, one thing that kind of offsets the weight of the rifle is actually the weight of the bayonet. I don't know what the nomenclature of the bayonet is. In the US Army, it's called the M9 bayonet, I'm pretty sure. And the one that they showed me there, it's made of this composite material. So it was really durable, but also much, much lighter than just the solid steel bayonet that I used. Now, going back to the rifle, the other thing that impressed me immediately was that the entire rifle, the whole system, is actually set up to be ambidextrous. So it doesn't matter if the soldier is right-handed or left-handed, whatever the dominant hand is, the rifle will work. Everything ambidextrous, the charging handle, the safety, the magazine release. Really good design, because even in the worst case situation, if a soldier's dominant arm gets injured, they can still easily access all the features of the weapon with their non-dominant arm. So I was really impressed with that. I'm pretty sure that was the first time I've ever seen any rifle, any gun actually, that is designed to be completely ambidextrous. So good job, Taiwan. A quick note about the magazines. They were also really lightweight, durable, pretty impressive. They had a little window in them so a soldier can easily see how many rounds that they have left. So good design there as well. So the biggest design aspect, the biggest feature that separates the T-91 and the T-112 from an M4 carbine is that the Taiwan rifles, they have this, I don't even know what it's called. It's like a short piston system within the rifle. So when you fire the rounds, the extra carbon actually collects up and within this system, which is really easy to take out and clean and get all the excess carbon out, so it doesn't build up that gunk inside of the chamber itself, which makes the Taiwanese rifles much easier to clean and maintain. You don't have to crack open the rifle itself to get the carbon out. You can just take this rod that has an easy access in the front. So that's a really cool feature, something that I wish I had when I was in the US Army. It's just another example of just how well designed the Taiwanese rifles are. There's just a lot of thought put in behind them. Now let's talk about some of the things I'm a little skeptical about, that I'm a little critical of. One of the things that I'm a little skeptical about is that the T-112 has the option to fire single shot, a 2-round burst, or full auto. And I'm only skeptical about the full auto option. And again, this is just my opinion, so if you have a different opinion, let me know in the comments. The reason I'm skeptical about the full auto option is that with a 30-round magazine, full auto fire goes like that. It's super fast. Just a few seconds and that magazine is empty. So while it can be useful to lay down a lot of suppressing fire, you can burn through ammunition incredibly quickly. And once you're out of ammo, well, that rifle just becomes an expensive club. Or I guess an expensive spear, because you can attach your bayonet to the front. The point is, it's really easy for inexperienced, anxious troops to flip to full auto, burn through an entire magazine, and just waste an entire magazine of ammunition, when instead they could be using single shot, which is much more accurate. Again, that's just my opinion. I'm sure there's other people out there who have a different opinion. If you do, let me know. Leave a comment. Now, when I first picked up the rifle and was looking through it before I fired it, I was also initially a little skeptical about the optics, the scope. I'm a little bit old school, I suppose. I think it's a good idea for soldiers to learn on iron sights. That means they don't have a scope. One of the reasons I'm a little skeptical of scopes is because a lot of them use batteries for an LED assist, or they have like a red dot sight. And if that battery fails, well, your ability to aim decreases pretty dramatically, especially with a red dot sight. So initially that was my biggest concern, was the optics, but the soldiers there, they showed me how you can turn off the LED assist. It still works just fine. You still have a reticle there that you can aim with. And the rifle does have a flip up iron sight at the end of the barrel. So you still have an iron sight on it, and the inherent scope is really good. It really is. I almost forgot to mention this laser sight here. This has an infrared laser and a green laser, and it also has a flashlight to it. I didn't use it when I was actually firing the rifle, so is it good? I don't know. Maybe. It looks pretty good. It's cool that it has all those functions, but really only time will tell if it will hold up in wet weather or being knocked around, that kind of stuff. So I'm not really going to give a verdict on it. It seems like a good idea though. I guess the last feature to mention is how the front pistol grip there, it has a bipod that flips out. So that's really cool. Very useful for when you're firing in the prone position. Let's talk about actually firing it though. So initially, I actually watched someone else fire the rifle. My first impressions there was that the muzzle flash was pretty small. It was within an indoor firing range, so it was kind of dark. It wasn't outside, so I could tell that the muzzle flash wasn't all that bright. And then when I did fire the rifle, I noticed a couple things. First, the rifle is extremely comfortable. It really is. The second is that the recoil isn't that bad. It's not bad at all. It's less recoil than what I'd get firing an M4. Maybe it's because the rifle's a bit heavier. Maybe it has something to do with that gas piston exchange system that the T-112 and the T-91 rifles have. I'm not sure. Maybe it has something to do with the muzzle brake. Maybe it's all of the above. Anyways, the recoil, it's not bad at all. And any issues I had with that scope completely resolved once I started firing the rifle. It's actually really easy to aim. I aim with both eyes open. It's a good habit to have. If you're a soldier, you need to aim with both eyes open. I've noticed a lot of soldiers in the US and in Taiwan like to close their non-dominant eye when they're aiming. Don't do that. It's a bad habit. Anyways, aiming with both eyes open with that scope was super easy. I fired 5 rounds at a 25-meter target and another 5 rounds at a 100-meter target, and I'll just show you now how well I did. Okay, as you can see, this is the 25-meter target, and I just hung it by my patio door here, the door out to my balcony, so that the light here would shine through so you could see it easier. So there's where I hit. There's where my 5 rounds were. Pretty good shooting. Here's a coin so you can see the size, the scale. And there's our official seal, so you know it's the real deal. Yeah, but not bad. And honestly, it's because that scope and that rifle was really easy to shoot. Okay, I'll show you the 100-meter next. Okay, so here's the 100-meter target, and as you can see, this is where I should have been aiming, but I was actually aiming a little too high. Yeah, so here's where my shots ended up. Not a terrible grouping. You can see it's about the size of a fist, which is about the size of a human heart, but not bad. Not amazing, but not bad. So overall, it was a really cool experience. I want to thank Legislator Wang Dingyu and his staff one more time. Thank you so much for all your efforts and letting me test out the T-112. Just really, really cool rifle. I think Taiwan's built an amazing rifle. I think it's a good idea to field this rifle. Now this is kind of a joke, but I even suggested that they could sell a limited edition of the T-112 to the United States in like a limited batch, and probably sell them for 10, 20 times what they cost to make. There's a lot of American gun owners who are collectors who would love to have something like that you just can't get anywhere else. But I'm really interested in your opinion. Do you think this new rifle is a good idea? Leave a comment, let me know. And hey, if you like this type of content, please subscribe and leave a like. A big thank you to Surfshark for sponsoring the video. Thank you so much. And of course, a giant thanks to the channel members. Thank you so much for all of your continued support. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you.